Yeah. I'm Brent Leary. Yeah.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
Sometimes you just have to kind of take a step back and reevaluate, think, breathe, and then say the same thing you've been saying for the last 15 years.
I just fell into it myself today. I tripped and fell into it.
He tripped, he fell, but we're here. We are the CRM players. It is Thursday afternoon, and it ain't bad here. I hear you guys are getting, well, even the Northerners are getting that really bad heat.
Oh God, yeah. I think we're at maybe 96 now.
Yeah, you guys got us beat. I think. I don't even know if we're in the 90s. Let me do my quick weather report here. It is 89.
Woo! A virtual winter.
It feels cold as ice down here.
Cold. Wow. Is that
I
and
didn't say
on
cold or ice.
Friday? On Friday.
Oh, look who is back.
Whoa, Sahil.
Good to see you.
Miss you, man.
Almost felt like breaking out that "Welcome Back." Remember that
Wow.
Cotter song?
I remember. I
That
used
was
to watch that show.
great show. I love that show.
Vinny Barbarino started his career.
Vinny Barbarino, Freddie Boom Boom
That's
Washington,
right.
Juan Epstein,
That's right.
Horseshack.
Horseshack.
He didn't even need a nickname. His name was Horseshack.
He ended
That's-
up a mess.
Oh, he
That
did?
guy.
What's his
Oh,
name?
you should
Ron
read it.
something?
Ron, yeah, read about his real life. What a mess.
Yeah,
Um,
don't want to do that.
I'd say of all of that show, the one who made out the best was Vinny Barbarino, aka
You think?
yeah, I say so, John Travolta.
I would think
Hey,
so.
Mr. Cutter.
He made out so good that most people don't even know him from that. They know him from
No,
Saturday Night Live or Grease.
yeah, it was no Saturday night. No, not
Saturday Night
Live.
Fever. Saturday Night
Fever.
Fever. Saturday Night Fever
I was
and
about to
Grease.
say, yeah,
And Pulp Fiction to a kind of
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. The later John Travolta was Pulp Fiction.
yeah. So, but people know us because we've been bringing the ass. Got to make sure you get that Z in there. Since 2009, 15 plus years of bringing the ass. I'm
It
always
kind of
gonna,
loses a little bit of the cachet when you have to put it that way, though. It's like you said, bringing the ass since 2009, but if you're going like bringing the ass
well,
since
because I don't.
2009, it kind of loses a little bit of the drama.
That's okay because I don't want too much drama by saying it some other way. It sounds.
Yeah, we'll say, and YouTube will go, oh, violation.
Yeah, you're those
You said the
guys.
word as.
Yeah, I said as.
Z.
Wait a minute. There's something missing.
Oh,
There's
again?
someone missing. What's going on here?
Come on, man. He just made that 1 week where he just kind of showed up and left
It's
again.
like a cameo moment,
Yeah.
an appearance or something.
Maybe he's on Cameo now. We have to pay $200 every time he does one.
I like Cameo, but I like the music group Cameo. Remember?
Yeah, oh yeah, I do.
Word up.
Word up.
It's a cold word.
I haven't. What is that? 19.
That was like 85, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say 83, but yeah, 85. Okay.
That's not even close to being my favorite Cameo song, though.
What's your favorite cameo?
It might be. It could be "Shake Your Pants." It could be "I'm Living the Single Life," or there was one other one that I really like. I just want to be what you want me to be. That one. That's probably my favorite one. Yeah, that's it.
I remember I'm living the single life, but that's the only one I remember.
You don't remember "Word Up"? That was like their biggest hit. And then
I kind of remember it. I never loved them. I kind of liked them.
I love "Back and Forth." Remember that song? Back
Yeah,
and Forth.
actually, I do.
That was
You know what? You're right. I really did like that. I think maybe that one I liked the best, just because
that
it
was a
was
good song.
Well, you know what it was? It was catchy.
It was catchy.
It was catchy. It was like, it's not that it was a great actual song, but it was to me, but it was one of those things that it's like you hear it and you want to keep saying it and singing it.
It brings me right back to my college days. That's why I really like that stuff.
Yeah, I go back to the Beatles and things like that for my college, and Jimi Hendrix.
You and the Venerable Steve Gilmore.
Yes.
By the way, congratulations to the Venerable Steve Gilmore and Tina Gilmore for welcoming into the world their third granddaughter.
Isn't that amazing? 3
Really?
grandkids for that wonderful couple.
They really, as I told them, you really do now have a Gilmore gang.
Yeah.
got a gang of granddaughters there.
You're not kidding. Oh, that's all right. You know what? Starting, give it another year just so that the new one is old enough to know something. The three of them are going to run the total show.
I can't wait for Steve and Tina to do a Gilmore Gang episode with just Gilmores. You know,
that would be hilarious and probably very, very, and probably well worth spending the time with.
And on a completely different note, some of our favorite sports heroes have left us. Willie Mays,
oh my, Jerry West,
Bill Walton. I don't know if we talked about any of them, but
no, we haven't actually. That's like, I mean, for me, especially with West and Mays, just because for me that's like it. The only baseball player from my era, famous one, that's still alive is Sandy Koufax, I think.
Yeah, I think he's about 88.
Yeah, and then in basketball there might be a few still around, but I'm unaware. Like who
Sandy Koufax might be the only person at his age level who be able to throw a fastball at the same age he is.
Yeah, probably
maybe a little faster.
I was just thinking he might be able to crack 90. Right. So he's still. I saw a picture of him, a recent picture, and he looks great. He's trim. He's alert. He looks 10, 15 years younger than he actually is. But he's nothing infirm about him whatsoever.
That's really cool. I mean, well, he left at the absolute peak of his time.
Yeah. Well, he was smart.
He didn't. What did he say? He didn't want his arm to come off or something.
Yeah,
weird.
basically, he didn't want to deteriorate. He just wanted to go when he felt healthy.
He wanted to.
I mean, he's had arm troubles over the years, but he's an amazing ball player, so many different ways. Willie Mays, though, different level.
Yeah, Willie. Well, he's top 3 in my book.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I probably put him there in retrospect, but I don't know how. I realize over time the eras are so different in terms of how the game is played and what was available for them technologically. Because look, baseball, I'll just take a baseball or a bat from 1927 is very different than a baseball and a bat from 2024.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are different.
So you'd almost have to say the best of eras, and that should almost have to be good enough, because all-time greatest is probably Babe Ruth, just because of what he did for the game. I don't know how he'd function nowadays. I have no idea. Would he hit 150 homers because of the new bats and balls, or would he be not used to it and hit 12? Or 4.
Well, we know he wouldn't be playing. He would be designated hitter because he ain't gonna be playing any defense.
No, but he was a good outfielder in his early days. He was actually a good outfielder. So who knows? I mean,
would he be more like the guy with the Dodgers, Ohtani?
Yeah, well, yeah, he's the obvious comparison. Do I think Ohtani's greater than Babe Ruth in a relative sense? No, I don't.
He hasn't nearly done as much as Babe Ruth.
Exactly. I mean, I think he's got a lot of potential to be one of the all-time greats without any question. But he's been around, 5 years now?
Has it been 5 years?
I thought it was 2018, or 2019, rather. So that would be.
How much money did his interpreters?
16 million.
All right, maybe it has been 5 years.
Yeah. Amazing.
Wow. Well, it's just much respect to all 3 of them. They were great for the game, even far after they were playing. They were great.
Yeah. I one of the thrills of my life was walking through the hallways at the Golden State Warriors that day. Remember?
I mentioned this yesterday on the happy hour. One of the coolest things ever was just walking from the club to our seats, and they let us go through the tunnel and go on the floor.
Thank you, Kenny Lauer.
On the floor. That's right. Walked on the floor to go to our seat, and as we were walking through, seeing all the players kind of muddle around, there was the logo, and I just went to a little kid status. I was like, oh my God, that's Jerry.
Yeah, me too. No, me too. I was in awe of seeing this guy, and it was interesting because he was in his late 70s, I guess, at
Yeah,
that point,
yeah.
maybe early 80s even, but just short of 80. But he was still just this big guy. It's like he wasn't
Yeah,
he didn't look old or anything. He just
not at
looked
all.
big. He looked big, and he was wearing a sports jacket or a suit or
And
something.
he was having a conversation, but he looked like very friendly, had a smile on his face.
Yeah. Oh,
Talking-
yeah.
It's like not like rolling up on Rick Barry. It's like, the last thing I want to do is say anything to him because he might punch me or something. So,
Yeah. I don't get guys like that. I mean, they should be so grateful to the fans, but they're not.
no, not Rick.
No. But Jerry West, that was
Oh, he was great.
yeah, that was just one for I think you and me. It was one of the great moments, right?
It was
Just
like
a great moment.
I was trying to figure out a way to do like a selfie where it looks like he's talking to me. I couldn't do it. But yeah, so rest in peace, the three all time greats.
Yeah, and Willie Mays, what can you say? I mean, he was look, I was a Mantle guy, so as far as I was concerned, Mantle was greater. And if Mantle wasn't injured, he might have been greater, but Mantle was injured, so he wasn't. As in retrospect, of course, Mays was all in all better. Mantle, you know what? They used to do studies, and a lot of people did the baseball studies. Mantle's 5-year stretch was greater than almost anyone else's in 50 years then, and maybe the only
Up
one
until Bonds is 2001.
Yeah, exactly, until Barry Bonds, right?
Yeah.
But that 5-year stretch Mantle had was spectacular, and then he stepped in a drain pipe, and that was the end of that. And so people speculated if he was healthy, his career, he might have been the greatest of all time. But
just think about, well, you were growing up in that you had the Mick, you had Say Hey, and you had the Duke, all in New York at the same time.
And there were other great players during that era, it was Hank Aaron and Roberto Clemente. And I mean, if I'm picking an era of baseball that was just strikingly amazing, that was probably it. Just so many people who were icons who became icons from that era, more so than the late in the 40s, you had Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams and Hank Greenberg in the 30s and 40s, and people like
Uncle
that.
Hank.
Yeah, that's when we were kids. That's what we talked. We always said that. We said, yeah, we were on the phone with Uncle Hank, and we go, Hank Greenberg, the baseball player. And you say, yeah, he's our uncle, right? Not the people asking us, not knowing they were literally about Greenberg is the equivalent of Smith, the Jewish version of Smith.
My mom's maiden name is Robinson, so I would say, yeah, my Uncle Frank, he's in baseball.
Yeah, Frank, and you couldn't say Uncle Brooks though. That one didn't work.
That might have been a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, slightly. Oh, he's very light complected.
Anyway, yeah, it's always kind of marks end of an era when people like that move on. So.
Yeah, it was very disconcerting week with that, which makes you sad, is what it does. You actually feel sad. There's the era is past now.
Yeah, and I'm like BFFs with Willie's godson Barry. So
yeah, Barry's the man.
Almost sort of like a family thing, since I got my.
I got to tell you something. With all the bad press that guy got, I remember, I'll never forget this day. We're doing the World Baseball Classic, and I was listening on satellite radio, driving somewhere, and he came on to help broadcast it, right? He was like a color guy for it, right? He was incredible. He was funny. He's really, really smart guy, like super intelligent guy. He knows baseball inside and out. Like A-Rod knows baseball inside and out, knows everything about it. But he was like charming. I mean, it was everything. And I remember thinking when I'm listening to him saying, he's amazing. How could people miss this part of him? Right? I know he got surly with the press, but they're annoying.
Well, we'll get on with the non-sports part of the show soon, but check out the baseball, Ken Burns baseball, that 10th inning,
Yeah.
and you kind of see why he was the way he was.
Oh, I did. I watched it, and I
Yeah.
knew the history. It was just when you actually get to see the guy when he's feeling comfortable and
Oh
relaxed and
yeah, he
not
was.
defensive. He's amazing. He's not
Oh
good. He's like the guy you just want to get to know because
yeah,
he's
no.
so great.
Shout out to Kim Gyeon because she's Oracle during, I think it was during, maybe it was back when it was Open World, not Cloud World. They had a reception at
Yeah,
San Francisco AT&T Stadium, I guess it was,
yeah.
and Barry was there, and he was the friendliest guy. He was taking
Again,
pictures with everybody,
yeah.
hanging out, laughing. I mean, I got a great picture of him with the biggest smile
He's
on his face.
again. That's him. That's the real him. But look, we're a media company in part, and I come from I wanted to be a sports writer, but I watch these guys, and I gotta say, so I watch post game Yankee shows all the time, and I'll tell you the truth, the media boring and they're annoying, and they ask the same goddamn questions over and over, and the questions are just like pointedly stupid, right? It's like I don't
That's
get
like
it.
they go out of the way to try to be asked the absolute worst, ridiculous, stupid
Yeah.
question.
They do, and it's what happens as a result. And then the managers, they'll say to they'll ask questions they know goddamn well the manager can't answer because he's not allowed to, and they'll still ask the
And they'll
question.
still ask this, or if it's something that's been asked, I don't know, a million times before,
Yeah,
they'll ask it for the million and first time,
in the same goddamn press conference, right?
expecting a different answer.
So is Judge going to play tomorrow? We'll have to see. Got hit on the hand, and that's always difficulty. So 10 minutes later, some other reporter says, "So what about Judge playing tomorrow? Is he going to play?" He said, "Well, he just answered that." Okay, well, what about playing tomorrow then?
You know what? I think of that kind of stuff when we're at our industry events and they open it up the Q&A, and certain people are going to ask a certain kind of ridiculous questions, but it never stops. It always happens.
And they're never going to get what they want. I mean, that's the point. That's the whole thing. They know it.
Alan, the tip off that this is CRM Playaz and not Pass the Mic is I'm not berating Venerable Paul Greenberg.
No,
I would have been in mid berate by now with
right.
Cold
Rice wouldn't have agreed with me on a number of these things.
No, he would have. The knee jerk, anything I say, completely disagree with. That's that show. So we're not doing that, but that will be tomorrow. So
that's tuned. Right. And I'll watch and agree with Brent.
All right. You know what? Before we go too far, because I do see one of our guests in the virtual green room. He's actually waving right now.
Well, I know which one now.
Well, I just kind of gave it away, didn't I? Well, before we bring on any guests, well, there's two things. There's one.
All right.
One of the things, so I'm going to hold off. I just want to just play a little clip from we did a watching privacy episode during Zoholics, and I was just checking out some of the recordings, and there was this really great interaction between Raju Vigesna and Tejas Gaja, who are my co-hosts on Watching Privacy, talking about the impact of Gen AI on search and that impact on our data privacy. I want to play this and get your take.
Okay,
here we go.
I'm ready.
I'm noticing a lot of people that are using AI and generating a lot of content, putting it on the web. There's no SEO. It's being messed up with all the thousands of pages that are generated on a daily basis to put it up on the internet. What does that mean to a common user? They will lose trust in the search systems. And what does that mean? Now they'll likely rely on the AI systems. and the personal information that would otherwise go in search engine box might go into these AI engines. We are yet to see some of those implications in the market. Now, how that applies in the business context for the larger companies, I think unless you have systems that can monitor and track a lot of things that are going on, it's going to be extremely difficult. If something like someone like PwC deploys it, I hope they have all the systems in place to control the leaks. If not, it is going to get crazy.
If you can like very quickly generate an insane amount of content, then if you go to like a LLM or ChatGPT or whatever, and you say, what's the best truck to buy under like 40,000 or whatever the, parameters you give it. If I can just flood the internet with data that it's going to train on, that says like the Toyota Tacoma is like the best truck to buy. That's like a way of like, not SEO, but it's like almost like LLM optimization, basically.
That was really interesting. Just that piece of what, and you can see it. Remember, I was at Adobe, did we do a watch party for that? I can't remember if we did a watch party, but
we did.
I was at Adobe, and remember they were talking about their Gen AI assistant and how you could use this assistant to generate like thousands of images just by putting a prompt. He's explaining exactly what what is potentially going to happen if you're able to create so much content and have it trained on LLMs, so that the LLM will basically use that content to push people to a particular answer when it goes there. I think we're already going to start seeing that happen, and it's only the beginning. In SEO and search engines are almost going to be rendered like useless to a certain extent if that really does happen.
Well, okay, so there's two things to that point. First of all, I agree generally that that's the case. Meaning, I guess the question becomes is, what's the volume of content necessary for LLMs to start sort of organically, quote unquote, training on it to make that a result you want to get from AI prompt, AI question. The second thing is, you're also dealing on a whole other level with just the issue of things that are convenient, right? And see, look, already, if you just look at the baseline and don't even assume people are throwing in, hundreds of thousands of pieces of content around a particular subject, truck under $40,000, for example. Right now, I personally, and just take this as reflective, I personally use Copilot embedded in Windows far more than I use Google search, because it's way more convenient to do it. I get the links if I need to go look. I mean, it's interesting. You know how we use YouTube to upload content, but it's not really a focused engine. That's what's going to happen with Google search. It's just going to be a place to go get your content after you've already gotten most of it from your, your ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot question. Microsoft has been super smart about it because they've integrated it directly into Bing, right? As a result of that, it becomes a single, again, piece of an ecosystem. So, for example, I've changed my default search engine to Bing, right? Not because I think Bing's better than Google, because it's easier for me to use Copilot there, right? So you have the convenience factor already starting to show signs of, broader interest, although I'm probably still a little bit ahead of the general curve. So then if you add to it thousands and thousands and thousands of results of queries, or thousands and thousands and thousands of answers to queries, rather, that you're deliberately adding to LLMs, meaning, okay, here are all the trucks we think under $40,000 are worthwhile, and the LLMs train on it, it's only a matter of time because the convenience factor already exists there. Look, ultimately, you could train LLMs on everything in the world, and it was still hard to, if Copilot was hard to use, it wouldn't matter so much. People would just not want to use it. I think the other point which they make, which is really important, is the issue of both security and privacy and just, gaming the LLM, right? Which can happen really easily. Get a Chevy Tacoma truck because it's $38,000 and it's the best, and keep saying that a million times, And
and switching up the content because the content can be changed automatically to differentiate, but have the same theme and the same kind of subject. Yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens with all this.
I do think what they're positing on will actually happen. I do think at some point, I don't know, 3-5 years maybe, if I'm looking at it, just a guess, so that people will be more dependent on Copilot than they will on Google search, and Google search becomes YouTube embedded files, basically.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of how long it's going to take.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, I see our other guest is in the green room. So
now,
before I bring them on,
if you said to me, and he is also in the
I
green
already
room, then no, I know, no, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah,
because you would add 2 he's, and that's not the way it's working.
Yeah, not today. So before we bring our guests on, you want to get your hemming and hawing out now before I play, because I love to play. All right, there we go. Now, are you? Is it all done? You got it all out of your system? One more, 2. All right, got it. All right, here we go.
And now it's time for Stump the Godfather with the Venerable Paul Greenberg, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
I hate Benny Hill now.
No one can ever hate Benny.
Yeah, it's probably true, but it's getting me there.
Anyway, this is Stump the Godfather. Oh, I did that perfect.
The mic drop. You did a mic drop. Good work.
Stump the Godfather, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot. Today's question is, I want to make sure I don't screw it up. Yes, I didn't screw it up. All right. The global Gen AI market is worth, I love this. I know you love this. $44.89 billion.
What? Where's the penny? Where's the cents?
I don't know where they get the rounding for this, but
I'm guessing this must be Gartner then, because they're the ones who do that all
Actually,
the time.
it's not. I'll let you know who it is when the answer. Anyway, 44.89 billion, not to be confused with 44.9 or 44.88 billion. That market will grow at a 46.47, not a 46%, but a 46.47% annual rate from 2024 to 2030, reaching what amount? Now, this could be like a simple math problem.
Yeah, but who's going to spend the time to try to figure out, is this compounding or is this simple? I mean, that's the other side. If it's compounding rate, that's one thing. If it's a simple rate, that's another, right? So, I mean, you could do the math simple. It's 6 years, 46%, blah, 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 blah. But if it's compounding, that's just too much math for me right
now. Hopefully one of our guests' audio will clear up, because it looks like she's having a bit of a problem. If our other guests let us know, are you hearing us okay? And I'm hearing you okay. So
I'm hearing you fine.
Okay. So maybe why don't you try logging back out and logging back in and see if that helps out?
Yeah, that should work.
Hopefully that'll work. Anyway, in the meantime, anybody who wants to take a guess, including our guest who can hear us clearly, if you want to take a shot at how many billions will that be by 2030? Oh, okay. He's already put in a guess. He's got 300 billion. That's his guess.
How's that work for 40? If this is compounded, that might be the case.
Well, I'm not going to tell you what that you get. All your clues are in the question itself. All right, so we have a $300 billion guess. Alan, Sahil, anybody else out there want to take a shot? How many billions of dollars will the Gen AI market be? I mean, I'm giving you a pretty good clues there, because yeah,
I'm working on it.
All right, so I see our other guest is in the virtual green room. Hopefully, can you hear us any better? Okay, well, while she's gonna let us know, anybody else out there before the Venerable Paul Greenberg takes his guess? Okay, Allen is coming in at 225 billion.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming in too.
225 billion. So we got 300.
Alan's doing the math on this one in his head, so he's going like roughly 50% compounded annually, and then he's subtracting a little because it's less than 50%, right? That's pretty much what I just did and came up with that number.
I really wish that our guest says he is just rolling the dice there. I really wish Patrick was around for this, because I would love to get Patrick's response. How many woof that would be? Anyway,
that would be a 2.5 woof, a 2.25 woof.
So we got 225. We got 300.
I'm coming in. In order to differentiate from Alan, I'll come at 226, but it's basically 225 is what I'm thinking too.
Okay, so Hill is putting some serious logic into this here. Should be around 320 billion at compounded rate, but I believe it will be in the trillion. So what? All right, so Hill, what's your guess, buddy? Is it 320?
We're talking about U.S. dollars here.
Oh, come on, really? Yes. No, we're talking rubles. Yeah.
Wow. So Russia's going to finally take over.
So we've got. So Hill, you got to let us know. Is it a billion? Is it a trillion? Or is it 320?
Our guess. Canadian dollars.
None of this double dip. Yeah.
Oh, in that case, in U.S. dollars, that's 30 million U.S.
And if our other guests can hear us, we would welcome her to take a shot at this too. Now her camera just went. All right. Anyway, so you're coming in where directly?
I'll come in at 225. I'll just go with Alan because I think he's right.
Okay, we got 400 billion. All right. Now we got 225. And you say you want to match 220? So
yeah, I'm going to match Alan. There's no point in being different on this one. I agree with it.
So Hill is either 320 or a trillion. He's got to pick one. You can't have them both there, Hill. And our
Marguerite is 400.
And our one guest is 3. I want to go back to his 300. All right. The answer to this week's Stump the Godfather question is, okay. Our second guest is back. Hopefully she can hear us. But our answer to this week's Stump the Godfather question is, all right. He's going above a trillion. That's a lot. Now we got a LinkedIn user at 300 billion. All right. They're coming in fast and furious. I'm cutting it off because the answer is, if I can get this answer, 356.1 billion.
Marguerite's the winner. No, so Hill's the winner. If he's 320, but he's above.
No, he went over a trillion.
Yeah, no, his original answer would have been the winner, but because he forfeited that answer, Marguerite is the winner.
Well,
she's closer.
But she's over where the. Are we doing Price is Right rules here? Because she's
not really. It's just whoever is closest really should win it.
Okay, but you know who didn't win? You, unfortunately.
Oh, well, shocker.
Anyway, are you surprised by that number? The global Gen AI market, 356 billion.
Well, I'd like to do the math on the compounded annual rate, but no.
Okay.
I'm not surprised.
Bob F said 300. Well, you're definitely wrong. I just like saying that about him.
Well, no, Marguerite said 400, and she's
wins. The closest, but
yeah. No, it's not an over-under. It's not really fair. I mean, closest is the closest.
I kind of like the Price is Right rules, but okay.
Yeah, but what if we don't win anything? So if you won something, we can go with the Price is Right rules. But
all right, then everybody
satisfaction that you were closer.
Everybody's a winner. Everybody's a winner today. All right.
Oh, look under your chair.
Yeah,
we'll do the Oprah rules.
Yeah, and you get
everybody wins a car.
You get a chair cushion. Anyway, that was this week's Stump the Godfather question, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365.
Oh, and it was Statistica.
Yes,
Statistica. Do they do their own work, or do they aggregate everybody else's?
Good question. Why don't we ask them at some point?
Okay, I'll do that in about 5 minutes.
In the meantime, now that we've gotten through all that, I now turn the stage over to the Venerable Paul Greenberg to introduce both of our guests today.
Okay. So this one is okay. As you all know, Brent was at Pega. I was unfortunately down with some AFib at the time, so I couldn't go. But we did a watch party, and we managed, as a result of that, to see two people on the stage that are gracing us with their appearance today. The first person I want to tell you about is somebody I've actually never met, but
I always like these when you have to introduce somebody you've absolutely never met before. This is great.
Yeah, but I managed to get to see her on stage, and you can get a pretty good sense of somebody on how they are on a stage, and she was a natural. I mean, this was somebody who's comfortable with people, had a great interaction with her co-host Matt on the stage. She knew, when you see somebody who kind of understands the moments that they have to be on, I'll call it on script, but it's really on cue. And then the moments where they shouldn't be, she had that. Now, this is somebody who at Pega is in charge of, or one of the people in charge of customer success. She was dealing with, I forget the number, was it 5,000 customers out there for the most part? And she was enormously successful at doing it. She also has that kind of natural, engaging presence and a sense of humor while she's on that stage, which tells you something about her personality off the stage, because you knew one damn thing she wasn't doing, which was acting, right? So I want to introduce a senior director of customer success at Pega, Steph Louis.
Now, do you want to bring her on
No.
before you do? All right, okay.
No. Now, the other person, on the other hand, I have met more than once. In fact, if you actually look at this guy's history, you get the feeling, if you take a look at his presence, that he was literally born at Pega. He's been at Pega for 31 years, and he looks about 31 years old.
Did you say 31 years?
Yes.
He's been at Pega for 31 years?
31 years. 1990, I guess 32 now, 1992, I think. Wow. He came on as a software engineer.
It's amazing.
This guy, the thing that you always know about this guy is, aside from the fact, look, he's responsible for Pega's products. He's the chief product officer, so that's sort of obvious. But he's the guy who has taken them from kind of their BPM roots and brought them through almost all this time, although, at an increasingly senior level, all this time through what they are really now, which is a customer engagement platform that is infused with AI all throughout, and also at the same time have developed an AI platform that's pretty extraordinary, and we'll get into some of that later. But the other thing about him, which I have always loved, is that he's got this wry sense of humor, and that's wry, W-R-Y. I don't mean R-Y-E, meaning he drinks. I mean W-R-Y, sense of humor, right? He if you ever watch him speak, or even when you have a conversation with him, even for a brief time, he kind of goes, when something funny occurs to him, he tells you what it is, and it is funny.
It's typically funny too.
Yeah, he's got this. But it's that wry sense of humor that he always knows. Yes, this is a very important thing I'm doing. Yes, Pega is an important company in the pantheon. Yes, this is an important market. Yes, we are helping to change the world, but it's a pretty funny world too. As tough as it may be, it's a pretty funny world too, and you know that when you see him, and he just has a real presence that is who he is. So, and with that,
yes,
I'd like to introduce the Chief Product Officer, Kerim Akgonul from Pega, and Steph Louis from Pega.
Thank you for joining us.
See?
Hey, you're making us blush.
Yeah, I'm telling you what I know.
Hey, you guys, that happens every week. That's why people come on the show just for the introduction.
I mean,
Everything after that is it was okay.
Oh, great. It's downhill from here. Awesome.
see, you already proved my point.
Yeah, but let me add one more thing about Kerim, because I don't know if he remembers. We about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, we went to one of the southern delicacy places here in Atlanta, and we didn't just break bread, we broke fried chicken. And I think once you had a good southern fried chicken meal with somebody, you know all you need to know about a person.
Was that what's the name of that place?
The Southern Kitchen, actually.
Yeah, the Southern Kitchen. That's what I thought. Yeah. I remember.
I'm ready to go back.
And Steph, I have a nickname for you.
Okay.
I don't even really know you, but I just, you know.
Oh, what? Okay.
Your name is Steph Louis, and it's so close to St.
Oh
Louis.
God!
I would love to just tell you're the saint. You know.
I'll take it. I mean,
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, you know, works for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll go by that. Sounds good.
And that's the show.
Yeah, thank you, and
Thanks for coming on.
all right. No, first of all, I know it's you know, you're just coming off of incredibly busy PegaWorld week. I was there for a couple of days, and I was exhausted. And all I did was sit around and look at all you guys do stuff. But just give us your impression. I hope you had at least a couple of days to, you know, decompress a bit. But why don't you just give us your impressions of last week and what all went on?
Sure, Steph, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So, you know, I think the excitement that I saw around the technology was palpable. Like, you could see it in the Innovation Hub, from Blueprint to Socrates to how we're actually using Gen AI in real life versus just talking about it was different than like last year, right? So last year was the promise. This year was the actualization of it in multiple different angles. So we had customers already talking about it. We're using it from a development perspective, from a runtime perspective, to Socrates, you know, which was obviously, you know, my heart and how we were able to use it from a learning perspective. But I think that was really real to see how everybody embraced it and was able to use it. It was not just a fake demo, it was real. So it was awesome to see everybody embrace it and have discussions around how they're going to take that away. So that was my big takeaway.
And I'll add to that. You know, for me, it was a blast. We had a great time. I mean, we had a great time, you know, presenting our stuff. We had a great time demoing it. We had a great time talking to customers and partners and prospects and analysts and press. We had a great time. We went out and you know, when we had a dance party. We basically, I have videos.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, it was just a blast seeing, you know, because we get to see so many of our friends from different parts of the world really come together that we hadn't seen in a while, and you know, from customers, from partners, from Pega. So and it was great seeing all the technology come together and really, you know, come across as capabilities that will add true, real value to the organizations that we work with, to the people that we do business with. So yeah, it was awesome.
Well, you know, one of the things that actually really I thought was, it blew me away really, was Blueprint. And the reason though was not just that you actually have it and it wasn't something you were announcing only, but that it actually does something which AI as a market and as a practical technology needs, which is it allows you to take a use case and make it actually happen, right? As opposed to, well, here's a projected idea on how it might be useful. You could literally build that and do that with Blueprint. And to me, that's huge because, you know, as I think we all know, all these new technologies become useful when they're actually being used for something useful, right? Not when we start talking about them. When we start talking about them, they're pretty much useless at that point. But later on, and you've actually gotten to later on, which is amazing.
We love it. I mean, we have, hundreds of customers on there using it. I feel like whenever we have these technologies, it's always exciting. But once people, it requires us to be able to find practical use cases to apply the technology on. And we're very excited about Blueprint. We have lots more new capabilities within Blueprint that is teed up in the next coming weeks and months. But like I said, people are using it and seeing value from it and changing the way they approach, how they plan their enterprise applications. And it is completely different than what everybody else is doing with generative AI and the enterprise software, which of course makes us very happy.
I actually had an opportunity. I had opportunity to go to the Innovation Hub and do a blueprint, but I actually had some assistance because I just so happened to run into Kerim Akgonul, and I was like, well, I'm getting ready to go over there. She's like, well, I'll go over there with you. And so we actually, did a little recording of my experience creating a blueprint. It was really cool. It was really easy. And the fact that it actually, you can take the points and the types and the clicks and it gets emailed to you. And then if you are already a Pega customer, that thing actually can lead to some tangible application workflow. It was really cool. But one of the things that really stood out during your keynote, it's kind of this little informality thing you had. Like all of a sudden, I've been taught through years it was Alexander the Great, and all of a sudden, like you were like Al the Great, like you were on first nickname.
Yeah,
and you have to be older than 32 though for that one.
And talking about not everybody can have a mentor like Aristotle, so that's why you guys worked on the coach thing. So I love how you kind of explain things, but there's Socrates, there's Blueprint, there's coach. For somebody who doesn't really understand them, how in the perspective of Pega, how would you explain how each of them and how they all work together to provide the customer something tangible to do?
Steph, do you want to start?
No, go ahead. Yep, you go. Okay. You take this one.
So let's talk about all the three of the different things. So the Socrates is all about learning. It's all about enablement, and it's a leveraging Gen AI and applying it to Socratic learning methodology. So let's say you are somebody new who's trying to understand our products or understand the technology, and applying the Socratic methodology to basically get you up to speed. You might be somebody new, or you might be somebody who's been working on this technology for 10 years, and you just need to do a gap enablement. The Socratic learning allows us to understand where you are in your understanding, and only really take your time to close the gap.
Right.
If your gap is 5 years or 5 releases or whatever, it will basically focus on a broader set of content. If your gap is 1 year, it will basically immediately identify where you are in your journey and will only bring you up to speed, which with traditional learning, that's hard to do. That's very, very hard to do because everybody's in a different place in their journey. So we're applying basically Gen AI to drive Socratic methodology to get people up to speed from wherever they are. Now, Blueprint is about capturing a vision for an application that you're going to build. And the reason why it's named Blueprint is the same concept as a blueprint for a house or a building, right? You're capturing the vision on a draft definition and visualizing it as a draft before you're actually constructing it. That's what Blueprint does. It basically gets you closer to a clear definition so that everybody's aligned before you actually construct it. Because we all know that if a project goes in 3 months with a misalignment in understanding, when people come back 3 months later and say, well, this is not what I wanted, it really sucks because one, it's uncomfortable, and two, now the project is going to take more time, and three, who's going to pay for it? Right? It just sucks. So the better you're aligned, right, the faster you build it, and the outcome is much better, basically aligned to what you want. So Socratic learning for enablement, blueprint for vision capturing, and then the third one is the coach, is when you're using the application. Let's say you're a claims processor, right? And you come across, basically, you're working on a claim. It's a complicated claim. It has lots of different bits to it. And you basically want to understand what's the best way to process this claim. And you can ask it directly into coach in the middle of the process. And the coach will analyze the data that's in the claim, and we'll look at the process definition that's in the system, and we'll look at the best practices for handling that claim and tell you what is the best way for you to operate in driving this claim to the right resolution outcome.
So does coach operate? Does it operate also for allow you? Well, let's say aside from supporting your ability to carry out a process, does it support your ability to utilize the application that's doing the work?
Yes.
Also?
Yes. So it understands both the process context and the overall application context, as well as your organizational best practices, and brings those together. I mean, essentially, the coach is the same thing as, let's say you've been handling complicated claims for 5 years, 10 years, and I want to do it for 2 years, and I come across a claim that I'm not familiar with. I say, hey, Paul, what do I do here? It's that.
Okay.
Right? It just basically, it's like Aristotle sitting next to you, right? What do I do? Right? Oh, well, this looks like a claim for this type and this is sophistication. This is the best practice to move forward. And boom, it just gives you the direction on how to move forward.
So how does Knowledge Buddy work in all this?
So great question. So Knowledge Buddy and Coach are very, very, very intertwined. And the Knowledge Buddy is all the organizational best practicing bits. So you can ask Knowledge Buddy questions when you're not in the context of a process, right? You can just basically ask it questions like, what is the best way to instantiate these types of claims? Do I break it down to multiple or single? Or basically, what is our policy around underwriting, such and such, accounts? So you can ask it questions broader. Coach brings the Knowledge Buddy in the context of a process and helps you get your specific work done.
Yeah.
And Knowledge Buddy is like an internal co-pilot, then, basically.
Yeah, Knowledge Buddy is basically, is a, you talked about search engines before. I don't want to call it a search engine, but it's around finding the documents that has the answer to your question much faster.
Yeah, and
Right.
and it's a more robust answer to that point, Kerim. Like it's,
Right.
When we talked about before, it's like when Gen AI first came out, it was basically like a glorified search. That's not what Knowledge Buddy is. It's honing in much quicker and providing a much more robust answer based on your question, also where you are, right? So if you're on this page versus another page, it's going to know that context and then can refine what it searches for based on where you're at. So it's contextual, so you can get there much faster.
But does it also have that RAG component to make sure that the answer it does give is not like a hallucination or a bogus answer?
Absolutely. And it also has the ability to for the organizations to sort of update and manage the currency of their content as well, right? Because another thing you don't want to do is you don't want to look at old documentation and have it find an old documentation that is trying to answer where,
the law changed 4 times since that document came out.
Yeah, like that answer was great for 1982, but
now you're under arrest. Right.
So I got a question for Steph, or I should say the Saint. So one of the things I really loved the relationship you had with Matt during the keynote. You guys really played off each other really well. But I also like how you guys did the individual customer stories, in particular with the VA, because of the story of how your grandmother, her role in service during World War II, and how that kind of set the stage. How was that just a coincidence, or how do you guys make sure you because you always have great customers and great customer stories and customers who are able to tell the story? I think you guys have the best track record of doing that
Yep.
at a lot of these conferences.
Yep.
So are there these personal tie-ins that go into how you tell these stories, or was that just a coincidence?
So I think, to your point, we always try to do that at PegaWorld, and that's just who we are as a company, is like we lean into people and trying to create personal connections. But this one actually was a coincidence. When I signed up to co-host, I did not know that I was going to be able to talk to the VA, and then it just came out, and then I was like, well, I have 3 grandparents who served, so I was able to tell that story and create that connection. So I mean, grateful for the team to be able to do that and create the connection. It's always part of what we try to do with the event. But yeah, I didn't know that I would be able to do that when I signed up to co-host. But yeah, it was pretty special.
You guys, we've talked about this with Alan and multiple times, but without a doubt, you have the best customer presentations consistently over the years, who are always they're proving your corporate narrative every single time. Every last one of them is. I still remember all the way back to the 2 Swedish best friends.
Yeah.
Right, that was still my favorite with the group hug and Alan. They were literally my favorite customers pair, or singularly, of all time. That's the first one. And then also that lady you did, I don't remember her name, but the woman from Lloyd's, when you guys were starting to talk about customer experience specifically, was kind of, you transitioned from CRM to customer experience, and you brought her in to speak to customer experience at Lloyd's and how the impact of Pega on that. And she was fantastic. You've always done that. The VA one, obviously, I would say, to me, was the highlight of the customer stories this time, and the best of them. But you're thinking about customers is really, it's what it's supposed to be, really. I guess if a company is thinking about.
I mean, the fact that Steph was able to relay that personal connection, and basically, lots of people in the audience get all, teary-eyed. I mean, it was fabulous. It was just great. The over the years aspect of it is really based on really one sort of the bar that Alan set, our CEO sets, as to how we engage with our customers. And then the second aspect, which is we just are all about really long-term, deep relationships. Really, like years and years along. We don't really have much interest in doing a project with an organization. A lot of our customers, a lot of the engagement goes very deep, and that is really a big part of why you get speakers like that.
I mean, I think you guys, you really know what you're doing. I guess I know we're getting close to wrap up, but I get one general question to ask you both. I think Brent and I, if you, I don't know if the very beginning of the show, there was a discussion that he had done with Watching Privacy and Zoholics, at Zoholics, on the ultimate result of the conversation was, will basically the co-pilots, the AI, ChatGPTs replace search engines? And what are the implications of that? And I'd like to get each of your takes on that. Say as the last question. What do you think?
So if I may start, yeah, I saw the bit and I saw how basically the discussion around how people are going to start sort of manipulating what the large language models perceive as to be the right answers. But I believe the answer ultimately is we don't know. Now, just yesterday, I was trying to figure out, I don't know if you guys know, but the Euro 2024 tournament is going on right now. It's like a soccer tournament in Europe.
Wait a minute. You live in Boston. You're talking about the Euro. Thank you. We appreciate that because we were afraid of you be caught up in all that other stuff. Yeah,
not at all. I got to watch both the Turkey's goals in basically through the announcers of many languages in Euro 2024, as well as the halftime three-pointer of the Celtics in the final through the announcers from many languages.
I'd say the best of both of all possible worlds, but the second part doesn't qualify.
And I can see Steph is very much for that, which means I might have to take my nickname back, but that's okay.
But when I was looking for the Euro 24 schedule, I kind of went to ChatGPT and say, give me the timetable of the games in Eastern Time Zone for Turkey that's playing, and it was just easier because it just gives you the answer directly rather than gives you a series of websites that might or might not have the answer. Having said that, obviously, things are going to change dramatically with how Google search works and already is. Yeah. And there's going to be a spectacular new set of capabilities that's going to come from them. I'm sure that Bing is going to push forward as well. So I think we're all going to benefit greatly from this revolution, that we're going to get to answers. And I think we're going to get to really accurate answers much, much faster. And I think the search engines are going to embrace the technology and give us great experiences.
Thanks, Steph.
One more thing. I know we're out of time. Can I add one more thing to that, especially when it comes to organizations? Content strategy is extremely important for embracing Gen AI, right? So one of the reasons we were able to come up with Socrates so quickly, because literally we did it in like 2 months, was because we used curated content coming from professional group that had curated that content. So we were able, it didn't hallucinate, it was able to have the conversation. So that's a critical point when we move from search to being more sophisticated. And then Gen AI, it does the content strategy and using it, especially when you have control of the content, matters a lot. If you just put it out into the wild, then that's when you come with more hallucinations versus when you actually have the content strategy to support it. So I just want to put that in there as well.
Makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, you're going to have to work on integrating Plato in here because, you skipped him. You went right from Socrates to Aristotle. Plato did help along the way with that. I'm just saying.
Yeah. The other thing shows the one guy who drank hemlock.
So that was Socrates who drunk the hemlock. But,
yeah, but nonetheless, you guys have done a great job. However,
this has been a great conversation. Steph, I'm just going to put you on mute for a second because we got to ask you the question too. All right, so this has been a great conversation coming off a great conference. But depending on how you answer this next question, I'm kind of fearful, given where you guys live and all. We may never speak to you again, so it is what it is. All right, so I'm going to we'll go with Kerim first since we've known him longer and we've never had a chance to ask him this question.
That's right.
So, Kerim, do you have a favorite? And I will say NFL team, because if I say football, you might say something else. So, do you have a favorite NFL team?
That's a really easy question.
We're not as easy as you think.
We're Patriots Nation. Things go up and things go down, but we're going to be we're gonna stick with them for quite some time.
Okay, don't say anything.
I think we had a pretty good couple of. I think in Boston we had a pretty good couple of decades.
Decades.
I'm a Yankees fan, so you can't speak too much about.
All right. Before we
decades.
It's
say
just been-
goodbye to you
Minimal
guys,
decades.
before we say goodbye to you guys forever. So Steph, the Saint, do you have a favorite NFL team?
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers.
Okay,
Well,
welcome
we will
back.
be glad to
You'll
welcome
be,
Steph back.
welcome back. You'll be coming back. All right, Sharon, but it's all
Jeremy,
over.
it was good to know you. We're glad
Yes,
we had
right.
some fried chicken back in the day together.
Hopefully, you'll be at 30.
Tomorrow's the Celtics parade.
We won't be talking to you. We'll watch it, Pega, but we won't be talking to you. We'll be.
Anyway.
I mean, Rams. You can see Giants in my case, but you know.
In all seriousness, because the Patriots are on a lull right now, we're not as
Yeah.
upset as that answer.
Yeah,
Typically are.
given how sad they are, it's okay. I mean, imagine a team worse than the Giants. It's amazing.
Yeah, they actually stink.
They were. They
this
were
is-
4-13. I remember. And Steph, I actually really like the Packers. I actually have been to Lambeau. I actually have been to games.
You've been to the frozen tundra?
Yes, I have. I've been to two games at Lambeau, Packers games. It's one of the great experiences to go to Green Bay during a Packers game. Is one of the world's greatest experiences, period.
Wow.
Layers did you have on when you went and watched it?
What was that?
How many
Oh.
layers of clothing did you have on when you went to go watch it?
I lived in Chicago for 20 some odd years, so
Okay.
I wasn't too upset about Green Bay's temperature. I loved it though. I mean, they tailgate the whole city tailgates. I mean, it's amazing. You could be 20 miles from the stadium and a Target parking lot, and there's a tailgating party going on. And that's when you're passing by, like just name an obscure. No, not obscure. You name like Willie Wood High School, and you'd go to a bar, and all the Packers from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s are at the bars hanging out with the fans the Friday night before the game and the Saturday night before the game.
Yep.
It's an amazing town. And they have little old ladies who have these clubs, and they VHS record the games. And then after the games, they literally go over the game tapes. It's astounding. I mean, it's the greatest thing ever.
That's a little over the top, isn't it?
No, that's what I literally.
That's where they get all their tips from, right? The little ladies send it to the
I'm
coaches.
telling you, the depth that those little ladies, they've been. Let's put it this way: these are seasons ticket holders. Okay, so
Yeah.
they know their stuff. And the other thing which amazed me during the game, there's a bunch of houses right alongside Lambeau, and people would literally just let people park on their lawn. I mean, they'd wreck their lawns with cars, but they didn't care. It was all right. And they weren't charging them. They just let them park on their lawns so you could go to Lambeau. And I literally saw this all with my own eyes. It was astounding. It was absolutely incredible.
I think we're going to have to take this over to the next conversation.
That's why
Yeah.
our 12th show, our sports show, which we have to revive.
Yes. But a big thanks to both the Saint, Steph Louis, and she gets to keep that title since she's a Green Bay Packers fan, and Kerim, who we will never speak to again in life.
Well, we will. You know what, Kerim? We do have a mercy clause and a pity clause, and you have it. So that means we will speak to you again because the Patriots are so bad. They are so bad. Okay. So we'll be happy to speak to you again.
But thanks,
This is
guys. You were
awesome.
awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
thank you.
right.
You were amazing.
All righty, that was fun. It was fun, even knowing that Kerim is
Well, he's rooting for the Turkish national squad in the Euro 2024.
Well, that's okay.
too. And they're actually pretty. If I remember, because I sort of keep my eyes on it a little, like I read about it when it pops up on my thing. I don't watch it, but I remember. I think Turkey was supposed to be a pretty good team. I don't remember exactly, but I remember reading something about them that gave them a long shot chance.
Okay.
I may be wrong, but I sort of remember it.
Look at this. One yes would have been.
Yeah, you know who that
capitalized
is.
yes.
But you know
Yes,
who that
Bob.
is. So.
But why did he do a second one and a third one? I mean,
Oh, I'm guessing
what's
that's
the
just
point?
LinkedIn from 3 different is repeating because it's
Oh.
on my LinkedIn, and that's showing. It's on your LinkedIn, and that's showing, and it's on LinkedIn PPN also?
No.
Is it? No.
So-
Okay. So it's on at least 2 of those are LinkedIn, yours and mine.
Or
I'm
he's
guessing.
just being repetitive because he's Bob. That could be it too.
Who knows?
You know what? One question I wanted to ask them, but I didn't get a chance. I wanted to ask them, had they ever played Alan in either chess or ping pong, and see how that.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, we should have.
Should have, maybe next time.
Yes, we will do that next time.
But in the meantime, folks, thanks for joining us. I think we'll be back next week, next Thursday.
We will. Yes.
So until then, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM players, and we can never say goodbye until we say hello to Minnie.
Hey, Minnie. Yay.
Now we can say goodbye. Goodbye.